There's no country anymore. As we are today, Nigeria is gone. What we have is a carcass, and life is short and brutish, and everyone, we're all on edge. We are the victimhood that a lot of people refuse to see coming to us. We are all there. And unfortunately, we do not have a president. We have someone who rigged his way into office, an illegitimate president, and who doesn't care. And of course, anyone who is ready to do anything, snatch it, run with it, and all of that to get into office, they don't care about the people. They don't care. There's no empathy. And that's what we're seeing today. And Nigeria has gotten into a place where you're not even sure that you're going to see the next day, because you might be a victim, might be taken away even from inside your own house. And that's where Nigeria is right now.
Okay,
So guys, Aisha Yesufu together with Sowore were on Arise Television to share their thoughts on the state of the nation. You need to listen to this, this interview. Honestly, Aisha Yesufu fearlessly has called Tinubu out, saying he is an illegitimate president. And when people rig their way into power, they will not know what to do with it, and that is exactly what we are experiencing currently in Nigeria. You can imagine all what is going on in Nigeria today. Nobody is there to answer to the people. Honestly, it appears we don't even have a president. So guys, let me allow you just listen for yourself what Aisha Yesufu said during this session. Take a look at this.
The first question as we open this conversation is, what do you think about the current trajectory of the country? As it is today, do you think that we are going in the right direction? Let's start with Aisha.
I don't even know where to start from that question, because there's no country anymore. As we are today, Nigeria is gone. What we have is a carcass, and life is short and brutish, and everyone, we're all on edge. We are the victimhood that a lot of people refuse to see coming to us. We are all there. And unfortunately, we do not have a president. We have someone who rigged his way into office, an illegitimate president, and who doesn't care. And of course, anyone who is ready to do anything, snatch it, run with it, and all of that to get into office, they don't care about the people. They don't care. There's no empathy. And that's what we're saying today. And Nigeria has gotten into a place where you're not even sure that you're going to see the next day, because you might be a victim, might be taken away even from inside your own house. And that's where Nigeria is right now.
Okay, so as an opening statement, yeah, sure.
Well, you asked about trajectory and if we are going in the right direction. And I say we are not going in any direction. That's the biggest problem. You can only tell about direction if there is, from a geographical point of view, there's any kind of movement. Here you see a lot of motion, there is no movement. And if there's any movement at all, it's a movement that is going backwards. The Nigerians or Nigeria is paying heavily for both their decisions and their indecisions. Their decisions in deciding, for those who decided on this trajectory, and the indecision of those who did nothing. And that's why you cannot say, and I agree with Aisha, that you have a country today. We've never had a nation. I've argued this all the time, that Nigeria was never a nation. It was a transaction from the beginning. And that next step is what we haven't been able to make, because we never also have had the kind of leaders that are visionary, that are capable of driving you in the right direction since I have been in Nigeria, which is 1971.
Well, okay, so it's a very nice way to get it. Now let's get deeper into the issues. So Aisha, there is the notion, that of the rule of law. Okay. Now, even though we can always point to challenges, because you did say that the president is illegitimate. Now, after the Supreme Court has ruled, you still don't accept that in the circumstances you have a sitting president in the eye of the law, even with whatever problems we have with that?
I think to answer your question, you saw the last ruling that happened of the governors and the Supreme Court, and how everybody was praising Mr. Tinubu for the fact that he didn't interfere, and they were able to retain that tells you everything. And as I'm sitting down here today, I'm quite sort of like taken aback that the Supreme Court didn't see how that made them to look. Because right now what we know, and that's the secret, or the open secret, that the courts are no longer the last resort of the common man. They are now like the plaything of corrupt politicians. And these corrupt politicians, they don't care, and they're saying it, they say it openly. We've seen all of that. We saw the Senator Bukachua, what he said. And so it's not about me accepting it or not accepting it. It's on ground. Rule of law is sacrosanct, and it's supposed to be on everybody. Right now, we've seen the different kind of decisions that have been made by the courts. So the way it goes, the court itself, there's no independence. We have judiciary capture, we have media capture, everything there seems to be, even the legislative capture, it's under sort of like one party, one person doing whatever they want to do with it. And at the end of the day, every Nigerian is suffering. There's something many people say. They say Nigerians don't react. That no matter how much you push Nigeria to the walls, they don't react. They say Nigerians are reacting. The people who are killing, they're reacting. That's their own form of protest. Their own is an illegal form of protest, because the legal form of protest, they've clamped down on it. They've stopped people from doing that. And every one of us is suffering, because there are some people who no longer see any hope. Because when you go to the court, and if you see a lot of people that have given up on the nation, they know even when they go to the court, they won't get anything. So they take the laws into their hands. And the rest of us that are law-abiding are the ones who are being punished by the state. The Nigerian state would rather, have a conversation with you, negotiate with you when you carry arms against the country. But when you are law-abiding, it clamps on you, it kills you, and it just disposes of you the way it wants to.
Interesting. Okay, so let me take it to Sowore. Basically, both of you have the same view. Not that I'm surprised, but it makes it quite exciting. So, what is the way out? Is there a legitimate path, out of this trajectory? I'm going to start with Sowore and then come to Aisha.
I think any way that saves people from the doom and destruction that has become their lot is legitimate. And I say this so that people are very clear about where I stand on Nigerian issues. Earlier, I agree with Aisha that there is no country. Where I disagree or differ from them and their party was their own brazen hope, I call it brazen, that the judiciary was somehow going to deliver differently in the 2023 election, because it has been very clear from the election, from the primaries at the party level, the conduct of INEC, that they were not planning an election. So when the elections were over and there was this eye on the judiciary, I was wondering which eye, which judiciary are you eyeing? Because I understand the judiciary right from my university days. I have been expelled, went to court, judges did not deliver justice. So when I agree with her is the issue of legitimacy. It's something can be legal and be legitimate. A human being can be born as a legal human being. But the process of birth might be legitimate if it doesn't go through what is legit. So I agree with her that and you have a right to reject a system or a precedent that did not come legitimately, as it's been decided by, or ought to have been decided by the rule of law. But we're not dealing with a country that respects any laws. The laws here are like cobwebs. They are only meant for ants. And, the elephants walk past them without even knowing them. So it's a country that is created for two categories of citizens. And that is why I have always advocated, and I'm never afraid to say that something massive, something urgent, and something revolutionary must happen in Nigeria for us to change course. This course will continue, They have already rigged even the next election. If we go by how they have populated INEC already. In the US, where you and I spent some years, if one person was going to the Supreme Court, the country will shut down. There will be conversations. They'll go and look at where he was standing, where he was in primary one. If he was backing the flag or he was in front of it, if he plucked somebody's coconut, if he took somebody's razor. Here in this country, there were over 11 Supreme Court judges that were just smuggled into the Supreme Court. And nobody talked about it. In fact, the media did not talk about it. The public are not aware. Nobody knows who these new judges are. Nobody did any background checks on them. So, in 4 years, we're going to have election. The person who anointed those Supreme Court judges, 11 of them, as we speak, controls what you would call justice. And this is not going to change except the citizens said, no, enough is enough. We are not taking this any longer. And that is why I advocate for a revolution. Not a violent one, because I don't believe in violence. But it is up to those who are hurting to decide how they want to fight this.
Okay, interesting point. So as I bring it back to Aisha. Aisha, you supported the Labour Party presidential candidate, which suggests to me that you probably have the belief that we can change it through getting some people in government. Is that your own approach to try to fix the trajectory that you think is not right?
Yeah, so for me, absolutely. Political activism is very important. Staying out of politics and saying that, by the way, I'm not a member of the Labour Party. I say a lot of people make that assumption. I'm a supporter because I believe in candidacy more than I do of party. If you have people that can do the work. As much as activism and politics, the end result is supposed to be for the greater good of the people, where those who are on the side of advocate are like, this is the problem. problem. Then those who are in the political side who get into office, who get elected, fix the problem. So it's that, demand and supply side of governance that Dr. Obi would always talk about. And so for me, it's very important for people to begin to participate. We have to participate in that politics, as flawed as it is. Yes, I totally agree that the capture of judiciary didn't start today. I mean, we saw in 2015 when the Supreme Court said that the card reader was not admissible in the law. And that sort of like changed the course of all the, the electoral reform that was done at that time. So we've seen a lot of things that have gone on. But we must still continue to take on the system. One of the things that we don't take into cognizance is the fact that the first set of dictators that many Nigerians, or if not all Nigerians met, were actually from the home, were parents. We're brought up in a society where, as a younger person, you can't speak up. You don't speak up to your parents. You don't challenge them. You don't ask them, why did they do this? You'll be called disrespectful. You'll be called a stubborn child. For those of us that did as kids, we got a lot of beating. So, and then people went on. Teachers also continued the suppression, and people became adults, and they simply replaced their parents' teachers with government. So some people feel that, you can't challenge government, you can't do that. So it's going to take a long time. It's a mindset thing that will happen. But the thing is that it's inevitable. Like Sowore said, of course, the bloody revolution is always the best. A bloody revolution doesn't take anyone anywhere. You either have and it's inevitable. We either have a bloodless revolution or a bloody revolution. The 2023 election was actually a bloodless revolution, where people who hitherto had never bothered about politics, were never interested. They didn't think it was, they didn't see the relationship between governance and their lives, decided that they were going to be part of that political process. And they were part of it. And at the end of the day, the process was not allowed to go through. The end result is not what matters. It's the process that matters. If the process was free, fair, credible, and it was transparent, and the result still turned out to be the way it is, everybody will move on. It's every 4 years. You have another 4 years to come through it. But where people see how their will was subverted, because when you have a political coup, a civilian coup like what we had with the 2023 election, it's the same thing like a military coup. So the world needs to also see that. So, but on the issue of the political, it's very important. If we say today we have a revolution, let's always ask this question: we have a revolution today. Who are we going to put in those offices? We need to begin to create leaders. We don't have leaders. We have a vacuum because people have stayed away from politics, looking at it as it's dirty. Let's not do it. So we just have people get money or one thing or the other. The next thing they run for office, they get in there without any preparation, without even knowing anything. You see someone, they say, "Oh, come and run for be president." I'm like, you don't just become president like that. You have to. There's certain things, there's certain competence skills that you're supposed to acquire, leadership skills, empathy, your EQ, IQ, and all of that along the way. So we must begin to engage in that process of that politics and say, okay, let's get into it one way or the other. Yes, it looks difficult. If we don't have the revolution, nobody can call for a revolution. That's one thing. It has to happen on its own. I always say to people, when that revolution will happen, we'll all see ourselves on the streets and we'll be saying, even you bros, you might be here. Sis, you might join us. That's the way to go. But until we get to that stage, can we begin to prepare sort of like that leadership so that we have a sort of a critical mass of people that we get into leadership position and actually serve the people, not the ones that we get in there and then they'll begin to do what we're saying today. Because most of the people who are in leadership today were actually the ones who were fighting for this democracy. We're the ones who were fighting for human rights, but they got in there. They became, from baby monsters, they became gigantic monsters.
Okay.
Speaking of from what he's talked about in the 1999, which is, I totally agree with him. The people who really fought for for democracy, they didn't participate in it. And that comes to the question where you're talking about political process. There are a lot of people who just feel that, people shouldn't participate in the political process. And that's wrong. Because what happened in 1999 was that those who actually fought for it thought maybe the military were not going to go away or something. They left. And criminals entered. And by the time those criminals, a good number of them weren't even whether fake, they were criminals because nature abhors vacuum. And then they got in. By the time the people who were actually pro-democracy came back, they couldn't get them out of it. So that's one. The other thing I just want to quickly talk about is on the issue of the register. When we look at the percentage, the 2023 election, we had very small percentage. But we could see there were quite a number of people that came out. One of the things for me, and I think I might be wrong, and I want to be proven whether right or wrong, is the fact that with the 2023 election, incidence form was not allowed. So people, there had to be that accreditation. If you're not taking it, then you can't vote. Right. Unlike what we had before, where this is, even with the card reader, incidence form, politicians will have a way to just bring up these numbers. Another thing also we have to look at is that register itself. Is it really the number of people that are there? Because what we had earlier on before, politicians used to, register multiple. One person will have like 40-something cards, 100 cards, because they use it to how to put it, to just inflate their numbers. But now it's not, and then we are now having an issue. And that issue also comes to us in the fact that when we want to recall lawmakers, the law says you must 50%. Meanwhile, it's not 50% that send the person to either the National Assembly or the State House of Assembly. So there are a lot of things that we need to fix. And unfortunately for us, the one legislative arm of government that is the bedrock of democracy in Nigeria, that is supposed to be more powerful than the executive, has actually found itself to be less powerful because the executive have money and they use it to just tie them, or there's a capture of it all. So we need to have all of these systemic changes going on. While we're waiting for that revolution to happen, let's also have a political revolution like he has done by running for office. Let's continue to have that and get more people in there.
Excellent. So in my view, I think that reforms of the different institutions, could be useful. We could talk about judicial reforms, talk about political reforms, but let's talk about judicial reforms. And this is not a subject, of course, that is only left for legal luminaries. The people have a stake. What kind of judicial reforms would you think is ideal? For instance, there have been an argument that the people that end up in the Supreme Court, for instance, ought not just to be people who are judges. What about law professors or distinguished lawyers? What are your ideas around judicial reforms in such a way that can give us the Nigeria that we...
So when you're talking about reform means that, there's something that is not working and you need to fix it.
Yeah.
The people who are supposed to fix it, it's working for them. So the state that we have right now, and that's what Sowore is also talking about, it's working for them. They're enjoying it. So there's no reform that they'll be looking at to make in terms of judicial reform or any of the set of people. And that's why we need to have the kind of people that will focus more on the nation rather than on their own selfish interests. And what part of the thing he also said, how do we even get these judges to be judges, the magistrate and all of that? How do they get in there? What's the process that they seem to get? And the CJN also, like the office of the CJN, there's too much power in that whole office. And the only way we can get that, the legislative arm, of course, that will be able to help us to do that, they can't. They won't do it because it favors them. They'll be able to use one thing
What about you? The people
to get
insist and put pressure on the legislature to do the right thing.
So the people, that's also like what he said. The people insisting. How do they insist? They insist by coming out and voicing. They insist by protesting. They insist but you know what? The Nigerian government always behaves like a terrorist government. When people come out on armed citizens, they kill them. We saw what happened October 2020. Young people were singing the national anthem. They held the flag of Nigeria. And yet, the Nigerian state went there with military and killed them. Not only killed them, still gaslighting them. And it never happened. So how are people supposed to come out when they're being killed, when they come out? And then the only people that the government is ready to listen to are the people who take up arms against the state. For law-abiding citizens, every day, you see the way they dehumanize you, the way they come out, they kill you. They're doing election, they're bringing out election results. They brought out military tankers all over the ICC building. All over. But where are those military tankers when kidnappers are taking our children and killing them because the people didn't pay ransom? They are nowhere to be found. The Nigerians, the security agencies in Nigeria, their allegiance is always to the president, even if it's an illegitimate one, and the ruling party, rather than to the people of Nigeria and the constitution. So that's a major problem that we have. People want to protest. They come out to protest. They are being killed. So there's nothing out of it. And this state that we are in now, and if we do nothing, it's going to worsen. We have religion keeping people down. They will use tradition. They will use all sorts of things to tell you not to speak out. But people are being killed. And then people are being told that, inshallah, it won't be them. In Jesus' name, it won't be their portion. I wonder the people who are being killed, whose portion it is. If we do nothing, every one of us, we're all victims waiting to happen. Yesterday's victims were once survivors. Today's victims were yesterday's survivors. And tomorrow's victims will be today's survivors. The people that have been killed will not be killed again. The next to be killed are those of us that are alive. And Nigerians need to understand. This thing is not, we're not going to wish it away. We don't have the patent to prayers. We're not going to pray it away because God will not do for us what he has given us the capacity for us to do for ourselves. Fixing Nigeria, God has given us that capacity. So if we lack and do nothing and we stay in our houses and we keep praying, then this whole thing will continue and it is not going to end. We're already on the path of chaos. So it's not left for the people to decide. Are they going to stand up against the people who have held this country ransom? Because there are few of them. And if we come out in our numbers, of course, we'll get that country that we want. There are a lot of people are afraid. But something we give that will break that fear and nobody will call for it, like I said earlier. The people will find themselves on the street.
Beyond the protest, which is important, there are times when we, but in terms of, working within the limits of the law, since we are not going to break the law, we're not going to ask people to break the law, both of you have considered that. What else can we do in getting the critical mass of our people to be educated between now and the next election, to be empowered? I take all the points about, they are not going to change it, people moved, people got involved in 2023. But apparently, there seems to be a little bit more space of what can be done in trying to engage the people on a long-term basis.
Tough love. It's not even about what the number of parties we have. It's the kind of people that are allowed to emerge within those parties. At the end of the day, Nigerians will only vote for the people that are flag bearers of parties. And most times what we have is that most parties, they do not give their best to run the tickets to run. They give it to those that are not competent enough and that they can control, because they know they want access to the treasury, access to the wealth of the people. So if you have someone who is not very competent, whom you saw what happened in Kogi State. I mean, we now have an office of the immediate past governor. Right. Someone who is saying, don't obey me, obey. You know those kind of things. I think they denied that. I think they denied. So someone who is saying, they've denied that?
Whenever they deny something, just know it's true.
And then saying, okay, and all of those things. So what we need to have is, first of all, have those systems where it's the most competent that I imagine. If we have a situation in Nigeria where we all have competent candidates, it's only a matter of ideology. I mean, a lot of people can go and sleep. You only need a little bit of critical mass to be keeping an eye on what is happening in terms of governance. We can all continue to go and do our businesses. So that is where the problem is. It's not even about the number of parties, but the fact that people are not allowed in. And sometimes also, like I said, you find a lot of these parties, they don't make it open. They frustrate people who want to get into these parties. And of course, people who have jobs that they're doing, they're not going to be staying there and fighting tooth and nail to be able to get into certain parties and do as some of these things. But at this moment, what we as Nigerians must understand is that politics is now we fighting for our lives. Because through politics is where you get governance. We're running a democracy. So it has to be through the political process, no matter how flawed it is. And so we must now take it upon ourselves that we must participate in this thing and come en masse and say, now we must begin to change this whole thing. And like what he said, keep mobilizing on the fact that we all come out en masse. If you don't do the right thing, we will overrun. So that at the end of the day, let's know if we're going to have a country, let's have a country. If we're not going to have a country, let's not have a country. It's not fair that some people have their families protected with all our security agents, because we go to different houses of either elected officials, VIPs, whatever it is. They all have, security agents guarding them. What about the rest of us citizens? Who is looking after us? So people need to get to that state of mind. And I think also there's something else that we don't understand. We refuse to allow people realize the relationship between governance and their lives. We play government, we play God. Most citizens. So you're always helping. We think we can crowdfund our way out of insecurity, crowdfund our way out of poverty. We're always taking us people's problem. We want to solve it for them because, of course, you were told to help your neighbor and all of that. And more people are abdicating their responsibility to you. They are allowing government to abdicate their own responsibility of taking care of the welfare of the people, and then more and more pressure is being put on others. There must be tough love. People must understand. If you don't vote the right way, if you don't come out during an election, if you don't participate, when you are hungry, enjoy the hunger. Don't put it on somebody else.
All right. So, in principle, we think that independent candidacy is useful. Let me bring another idea. And of course, we can talk about what has to happen to make sure that you get what we really want. Yeah. What do you guys think about parliamentary system? And this is what I think. I believe, first of all, I think that the presidential system is unnecessarily expressive. Yeah. But more importantly, I believe that the presidential system creates a situation where Mr. President, whoever it is, can sit in the villa without coming out to explain or be questioned. But in a parliamentary system, you have to sit in the parliament face to face with an opposition leader, and you have to take questions from the opposition. And all of this done in the public. I think that can help our political process to become more accountable. What do you guys think, Aisha?
Okay, so for me, straight off, I would say that we are not doing the presidential system itself. We are not doing true federalism. So that's the thing about Nigeria. We have all sorts of things. If we copy something, we're not doing it very well. But I totally agree with you. For me, the parliamentary system works better for me. In the sense that it's less expensive compared to the presidential system. And if you have like ministers and all of that, you're not going to be bringing in new people. They're all lawmakers. It's, first among equals. They're all sitting down there. They're all lawmakers. Even if they remove you, probably as a minister or something like that, you just go back there. You're there. You're sitting down there. You continue where you did. For me, I think it's something that would work better than what we currently have right now. But the thing is that whatever kind of system that you bring in, if you have the same kind of people who are ready, who are not accountable, because rule of law is everything. Even the parliamentary system that is working in other countries, the way it's working, if you bring it down to Nigeria, they will rubbish it. They will find a way to do what they want to do. If they don't want to talk to what they want, they will tell them, they will even publicize it. They will say they won't meet. And if citizens are sitting there, if those are not doing anything about it, they get away with it, because at the end of the day, absolute power would always corrupt absolutely. But personally, I'm more interested in the parliamentary system than I am of the presidential system.
I think for a federal system, for a system that is as diverse as Nigeria, I still prefer the presidential system of government. Those who practice parliamentary system are usually societies that don't have our kind of diversity. So, and also population is also very important. The reason why we opted for presidential system is because it has layers and layers of government. You know, you have a local government, you have state government, and all of them have parliaments. I think if our problem is that it's too expensive, there are things we should do immediately. I personally don't think we need bicameral legislative system. You know, I think Nigeria should be okay with a Senate of 109 people.
Our House of Reps.
House of Rep is even too expensive.
Okay, because of the number.
Yes. Just have 100. I used to think we should have House of Rep and all, but at the end of the day, all of them combined together are not doing anything. They don't even go to work. Even the thing that the electronic voting system, they deactivated it because they don't want people to know how they are voting. Not because they don't want people to know that, it's because they also don't come to work.
These are things that people should become aware of.
Yes.
And mobilizing and pressurizing on.
So first, get rid of the bicameral legislative system. Let's have 109 senators. All right, and let them represent. You know, there are different constituencies.
Just a minute.
Yes.
Do you agree, Aisha, with bicameral?
Yeah, unicameral. Yeah.
Unicameral.
Yes, I totally agree with him.
So if you have a unicameral legislative system, you can also always, you see, it's the parliamentary system that brings the president or the prime minister to. It's the same we have here. These people are also supposed to bring the president whenever they want. But they don't do it because
the thing is that under the parliamentary, the prime minister is a member and he's going to face every day of his life in government by the opposition leader.
But here, like Aisha rightly told you, if we bring it here, they will take the parliament to the president's house. And they will close the door.
I don't think it's that bad.
It's worse.
Do you know how your legislator is voting in the National Assembly?
Exactly.
No, you don't. Yeah. Because it's not transparent.
But the information is public. You can find out.
It's not. You can't find
who
out how they are voting.
Who? You know the general.
You can have a general idea of. But when they want to do the voting,
the names have it.
The thing is that there's supposed to be an electronic register in the place. You place your finger on it. Essentially, you don't have control over the results. In fact, the public is supposed to be seeing it in the US. They will call the name of the person, his constituency, he will vote. You see the thing there. There's a TV station that is 24 hours, C-SPAN, right? In the US. Here, you don't know who voted for which law.
Well, I think
and most of them also don't show up.
I think it's important to begin to call out the leaders of the National Assembly.
Don't we call them out every day?
That you cannot
shut down the National Assembly.
Because those are the areas that we can get to do something on it.
Let me come.
We can't change the game without changing the players.
That's it. Let me come in. I think was it last year when they had those 5 gender bills that the National Assembly threw away. One of them, as little as a woman that is married to a non-Nigerian, let her be able to confer Nigerian citizenship to her husband. It's not too much. They threw everything away. Women were outside the National Assembly for over 30 days. And some of them made fun. When they are tired, they will go away. So that's what they always say. Is it closed now? Open now was done. A lot of this. They keep saying this go away. And, at the end of the day, they will bring in security agents that will kill everybody. And even the security agents, then later they'll be crying that Nigeria is bad. They are being this way. Well, all of us are suffering. Because people watch the whole space, the civic space, being shrunk, being attacked. And they felt it's none of their business. But today, it's all our business now.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been quite exciting having this discussion, and I wish that we could go on and on, because there are indeed things that can be sorted out, and there are things that will require much difficult handling. But I want to thank you both for coming, and to say that it's important that your voices are, continue to be active and raised around the important issues of the future of Nigeria. And I'm hopeful that we will get it. Now, last question. Do you guys have hope that we will get that Nigeria of our dream? Just, 10 seconds each.
Oh, absolutely. We'll get that Nigeria of our dream. Nigeria must work in our lifetime. And we are not giving up. Giving up is not an option. And the thing is that we keep going and we'll get that nation. It might be impossible, but like Nelson Mandela said, it's impossible until it is done. And we will get that Nigeria.
Thank you, Jore.
I don't think we should overplay hope, because that's what put people to sleep. I would urge people to go for the Nigeria that they want for themselves. That is the Nigeria that works. And it's not going to happen by hoping that it will happen. You have to really go after that Nigeria that you want.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's it's a good note to wrap it. At least we all 3 of us believe that we should have independent candidacy. 2 of us agree that we should have parliamentary, and we also believe on unicameral. Now, I believe that in my lifetime, Nigeria will be great, because we will not give up and we will not stop. And my name is Laudo Akoli. I'll see you again next week.
So guys, you have heard it for yourself. Yes. Aisha Yesufu shared her thought together with Sowore, and I tell you, the country is not working. It's not working at the moment. And I'm so shocked, I'm so shocked looking at the way Tinubu's performance is going. This man is as if, he got to Aso Rock and was hypnotized. It appears immediately Tinubu got to Aso Rock, he was hypnotized. The influence is so powerful that he's seen his people being killed. Even in the land of Yoruba, I mean, this one is no more in the southeast and all that. This is happening in the southwest. Emilokon is no more working. Emilokon, he said, it's our turn. It's our turn. Can no longer defend his people. He cannot speak for his people. He cannot even since all this kidnap has been going on in the southwest, this man has not come out as the president to issue one statement that will make this bandit to quake. Nobody is talking, nobody is issuing orders, nobody is issuing commands, nobody is making the security chiefs to be on their feet. He's enjoying his private visit, and when you talk, they will tell you he's entitled to go for private visit. Yeah, nobody said he shouldn't go, but should it be at such a time like we are in? A time when Nigerians will hardly sleep, a time when Nigerians cannot, have their peace. If you are traveling from one part of the country to the other, you almost be suffering from hypertension because you are afraid, you are worried, you don't know what becomes of you or what will happen to you on the road. We have many tigers and lions in the name of human beings, hiding in our forests. Their own is just to catch people, kidnap them, and then ask for ransom. That's their own business. And nobody wants to take that bold step of stopping this menace. Anyway, it's affecting everybody, both the rich and poor, the big and small, the Muslim, the non-Muslim. Everybody's being affected. That's why when we talk about leadership, let's keep religion and tribe away. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell. Please give this video a like so that YouTube can recommend it to others. Thank you.